I rarely think about my family as I grew up in a family with a special needs kid. Because my brother, his needs are so different than my son's needs, and it's totally different living with them. So I don't think of it that way. When I look at my family now, I'm getting together, and now I've got my mom and dad who are 70 years old, who have a 41-year-old son that still lives with them and always will until they're incapable of taking care of him.
He was 10 years old when the reality first hit me. I remember I was flying to Arizona, and I realized we could have Jeremy with us for long term, and we may never have an empty nest at home. I didn't like that at first, but in time, I accepted it, and I realized that's what God had for us, and that we would be here to take care of him.
Lifetime versus a season, a reality that we have to face. Typical families go through seasons with children, toddlerhood, infant diapers. There's an end. Teenagers, adolescents, all those things are seasons that typically have an end. When you have a special needs child, you could just stamp lifetime on it because it doesn't end. This is something you acclimate to and becomes part of who you are.
We know the future for these guys may not be a future of a normal child. We know that, and we've come to that grasp. We understand that, they may not be able to live on their own. They may be living in our home for the rest of our lives.
It is essential to accept this reality. It just makes life so much easier, because once you've accepted this and you deal with it for what it is, then it gets blended into your everyday way you walk and talk and think without making it a thing. It's kind of like putting gas in your car and breathing and eating and stuff like that. It's just how you start thinking. How does that look? Our college kids were home, and so I would kid with them going, you know what, Mom and I are kind of looking forward to this empty nester thing. Before we didn't know if we wanted to get rid of you kids, but we kind of like this now. And then Marisa, she's over there best at the table, she just goes, baby, we're never going to be alone. And I wasn't really connecting. See, I'm not as far as she is in accepting this reality, I guess, but I wasn't thinking that. I know it, but I didn't know it. And so she goes, and I go, what do you mean we're not going to be alone? She goes, there's always going to be four of us. Now that threw me for a loop, because I'm going, four, where'd the fourth one come? Okay, you, me, and Micah, I got that. She goes, well, Jeremy, my little brother. Because my parents came to me 10 years ago. And they said, if anything happens to us, we want you to be the one that'll take care of Jeremy. And we said yes.
Always willing to say, if anything happens to Mom and Dad, we'll be very willing to watch Jeremy. He'll be living with us, be part of our family, never knowing that eventually we would also have a child that would be living with us forever and be part of our family. So, the frustrations with Jeremy over the years, hard to understand him speak sometimes, medical issues, medicines, doctors. God was just giving me a glimpse of prepping me for another child that I was going to have to watch. And I realized, this is my brother-in-law who's not even genetically related to me. And here's a child I've adopted that's not genetically related to me. And here I'm going to be the caretaker. And I'm like, Lord, you know what? That's great. That is exactly what you've designed me for. And I'll be excited. Now, there'll probably be days when the two of them don't get along, but I'm honored to have that chance to be able to have a part of my brother-in-law's life.
So my wife had so accepted the reality of a lifetime that even in me just kind of throwing out a cliche for conversation, corrected me and said, no, there'll be four of us. We're not empty nesters, never will be. And it's okay.
So for us, we're having to come to the grips of, okay, how much more do we push to encourage this child to brush his teeth? You do this next, you do this. How much of it are we banging our head against the wall, thinking he will come to grips and he will learn how to do it because his brothers did and he can't? Or is it that we need to say, you know what? He may be doing this at 30 years old. He may never understand more than the level he's at right now. And for us, it's kind of, does that help? Does it help us understand how to parent him?
For Micah at 2, just before he was 2, till today, we have been on a journey, and we will continue to be on a journey to not only allow Micah to be all that God wants him to be, all that God created him to be, because he's got a plan for Micah. Micah's no accident. Micah affects people around him, and God uses him. But not only do we help Micah, but to say, Lord, what are you teaching us? What do you have for us? Because our family is not the same today as it was 13 years ago. Our other kids are not the same. Marisa and I are not the same. We are on a journey with him. It's just a different one.